Hey, what is up, guys? And thank you once again for tuning in to another installment of the CSGO Weekly Wrap-Up Series, a series hosted by myself, Chaotic Agent. I'd also like to give a warm welcome to those of you joining us for the first time and give you a quick recap for those of you who don't already know what this series is about. In this series, we discuss everything that is currently happening in the CSGO Pro esports scene. Topics include such things as roster changes and tournament news, and everything else in between. Also, a PS, for those of you wondering where last week's episode was, I should have been more clear the first time around, so I apologize and let me explain. This series will be a bi-weekly series to ensure one of two things. Number one, that we have enough things happening to make a worthy episode for you guys. And number two, we will also soon be planning to add a League of Legends segment to this series as well, so that will also be a bi-weekly series which will alternate with my series for CSGO, giving you the viewers a new episode every week. Alright, enough of that, but first off, as always, we have a demo for you to watch to the right of Team Liquid versus Luminosity Gaming. Now let's dive into the news. First topic up for bat is tournament news, of course. And first off, we have the MLG Columbus that took place. A lot of crazy stuff happened at it, but hey, it wouldn't really be a major if there wasn't some stories to tell, am I right? The biggest shock of the tournament came in the quarterfinals as Fnatic dropped to Astralis in a 2-0 upset. The first map was on Overpass, a map heavily favored towards Fnatic, which ended in a 10-5 scoreline at the half in favor of Astralis. After the switch, Fnatic managed to win the pistol round and staged what looked like it might be business as usual, with them sporting an insane comeback. However, not being able to deliver any significant economic damage to them during those rounds ended up being Fnatic's downfall, and they ran out of steam and fell to a 16-10 scoreline in the end. The second map was played out on Cash, which Fnatic had suffered an even more devastating loss. The first half ended with Astralis ahead 13-2, and they just kept the ball rolling straight into the second half, taking it to a 15-2 match point before Fnatic was finally able to secure a mere 3 more rounds before the game ended in a 16-5 scoreline. During the match, just to add insult to injury, Astralis even took a tactical timeout at match point 15-2. All because Kerrigan was later quoted stating they did this because Fnatic had said prior to the match that they looked like they would be an easy matchup against Astralis. Next up is probably going to go down as one of the biggest CSGO chokes in history. I'm talking, of course, about the game we're watching between Team Liquid and Luminosity Gaming. The first map was on Mirage, which started out with an insanely close back and forth first half with a scoreline of 8-7 in favor of Luminosity. Following the switch though, Team Liquid hit the throttle and they did not look back until match point, taking a 15-9 lead over Luminosity. However, an insane, practically solo hold of Bombsite B by Luminosity's Coldzera basically marked the turning point in this match. Coldzera in this single moment got an AWP 4K consisting of an opening frag, a collat jumping no-scope, and a close-range no-scope that all happened within a matter of seconds, and essentially was Team Liquid's downfall and kept Luminosity's hopes and dreams alive. Following that play, Luminosity proceeded to shut down Team Liquid, completely running away with the match in a 10-round win streak to close the map out in overtime with a 19-15 scoreline. But wait, the insanity still doesn't stop there. The next match played out on Cash, and after a pretty impressive CT side scoreline of 9-6 for Team Liquid, after the switch, they yet again hit the throttle and didn't look back, bringing the game to match point, only this time it was a 15-6 scoreline. Yet despite this, Luminosity never gave up hope and managed to swing the game back yet again, taking the next 9 rounds straight to bring the match into overtime, where they ended up winning 19-17. Next up is none other than, you guessed it, the Grand Finals, which staged the underdog Luminosity against the heavily favored Na'Vi. The first map played out on Mirage, which was Luminosity's pick. Despite that, though, they were unable to crack Na'Vi's CT side during the first half, resulting in an 11-4 scoreline in favor of Na'Vi. But then again, history repeated itself and they turned the game back around. They flipped the switch and ended up winning the game in overtime, 19-17, like they had just done to Team Liquid in the semifinals. The second map, however, was a quite different story. This time, Luminosity didn't play around at all. Instead, they went absolutely berserk right from the start on Overpass, a map that was supposed to be Na'Vi's map to lose, considering they chose it. It ended up being a blowout of the maximum proportions, with Luminosity dominating Na'Vi 16-2 and granting them their first ever major. Next up, we have an update about the DreamHack Masters Malma tournament, which is set to take place April 12th through the 17th. In an interesting turn of events following their devastating and unexpected loss in Columbus, Fnatic has withdrawn from DreamHack Masters Malma due to issues with Olaf Meister's arm. Fnatic's head coach was quoted stating that Olaf has had trouble with his arm for the past month, and we still today are not sure why or how serious it is, and that it has grown worse the last 2 weeks and he won't play until he has fully recovered without any issues or pains for at least 2 weeks. He will be seeing a specialist in the following days and will take it from there. In their stead, G2 Esports was named as Fnatic's replacement, and they released a statement stating that the tournament in Malma will be the perfect opportunity for their team to bounce back from the results at MLG Columbus, and that their players are very excited to get the chance to play at yet another invitational event so soon. Alright guys, now it's time to talk about some roster changes. This week's roster changes will be fairly brief and are mostly of smaller and less well-known teams, as there were no shifts in any higher seeded teams. But I decided I would cover these changes anyways for those of you who might follow these teams. First up for roster changes is a fairly unknown team known as the Mongols. In a statement given to HLTV.org by the team's manager, he stated that the Mongols have dropped Menace and NLC from the squad and that they will be trying out Element and Cable as their replacements. He went on to explain that these changes were made solely on performance reasons, that the team's loss to the Thai squad Signature at DreamHack Masters Malma Asia Qualifiers 2016 in the closed quarterfinal was the reason for the roster changes. Another little known team to Counter-Strike players is LGD Gaming. LGD Gaming is a Chinese esports organization who recently announced that they were going to join the CSGO professional competitive scene back in December. However, it has taken them until now for them to finally reveal their debut roster. Their debut roster is going to consist of Carl, Nine, Tracefire, Sydney, and KFCG. It'll be interesting to see how a brand new team will compare in this already so competitive atmosphere. Lastly on roster changes is the team Torpedo. They recently signed Zend to their roster. Zend has played previously for teams you might know a little better, known as Flipside Tactics and Copenhagen Wolves. Most recently, he played for Den DD. While on Den DD, his team finished 17th to 32nd at the DreamHack Masters Malma 2016 European Qualifier, and it then also failed to qualify for the CEVO Season 9 Professional European Division. However, before that on Copenhagen Wolves, Zend helped the team finish 3rd and 4th at the DreamHack Open London 2015, where his team was finally knocked out in a 2-0 loss against Team Envious. It'll be interesting to see which Zend we see from here on in the future, whether we go back to the 3rd and 4th place finishes or if it'll just be more of the same as of late. Alright guys, that's about it for this episode of the weekly wrap-up, and once again I just want to thank you all very much for tuning in from all of us here at aCupofDeath Gaming. Also, please don't forget, if you guys liked this video and you want to see more content like it, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, comment, share it, subscribe to our page, and to stay up to date on new content and help us grow into an awesome gaming entertainment franchise. Today, I leave you with this awesome clip from Liquid vs. Luminosity game that we talked about earlier. It's the AWP 4K bomb site B hold from Luminosity's Coldzera against Team Liquid on Mirage that ended up being the vital turning point and setting them on their road to win the entire major. Without this moment, half of the news I just reported to you would have been a very different story. Which is why, after the tournament was over, Coldzera was named MVP of the tournament. I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you next time.
It's still Liquid's round to impose on Luminosity. The team now going back to Old Faithful, and Cold might be in trouble.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on him. He's got to hit these shots. We saw Fallen in this spot before, the same spot, but with much more utility to work with. Here he comes once again. The first base is a Dren. He's going to hit the ground there as Cold. Oh, what a jumping double from Cold! What is going on right now? How does he do this? Cold has saved Luminosity with the all play. Unthinkable scenes there on the B apartments. They needed a huge play, but that was something I'm never going to see ever again. Ridiculous stuff.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Let it go.